This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning. Welcome to Racing Across America on this Saturday morning, a big day of racing across the country. And in fact, this is via tape because as you are watching this, I'm sitting in the car with our colleague Sully Crotty, and we're headed to Aqueduct to cover Wood Memorial Day down at Aqueduct. Live cut-ins here on the network all afternoon. But our Friday taping talked to some great guests about some great stakes action. Jeremy Plonk from Horseplayernow.com and Countdown to the Crown. Jeremy also handicaps every day for the Keeneland website, so we're talking some Keeneland and Bluegrass Day with Jeremy. Also hitting on Keeneland with Ellis Star from Equibase, and out in Southern California, it's Santa Anita Derby Day. So we reached out to Frank Miramahdi. So we're covering a lot of the great stakes action at Keeneland and Santa Anita. Got some thoughts on the Wood as well from Jeremy Plonk, but we'll have some Wood thoughts, obviously, this afternoon when we are live from Aqueduct with an on-the-road edition of OTB Live. Check in for all those cut-ins during the afternoon from Aqueduct. And again, we are live from Aqueduct with Sully Crotty and myself all afternoon. That'll be here on the network covering not just the Wood Memorial, but a great undercard of stakes races at Aqueduct as well. Also on Saturday afternoon here at the Clubhouse Racebook, a $100 knockout challenge. That'll happen on 6 races at Aqueduct. There's a winner receiving a $75 bet, a runner-up receiving a $25 bet. That's a $100 knockout challenge here at the Clubhouse Racebook on Saturday, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Sunday, it's a double Sunday promotion. NYRA, a pick 4, and a match bet promotion here at the Clubhouse Racebook. That all happens on Sunday. Again, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. And I always want to remind you, click on that Tourney Bets link on the website. Check it out. If you haven't done it yet, pull up the calendar by clicking on the link and you go down. There are different types of contests, different price points, and try it out. I think you'll have some fun. Tourney Bets link on the front page of CapitalOTB.com. All right, let's jump into it. Let's dive into the pool on a big racing day across the country. Horses fighting for Kentucky Derby points and plenty of money up for grabs as well. Again, Jeremy Plonk, Horseplayernow.com, and Countdown to the Crown. Check it out, going to Horseplayernow.com. The Countdown to the Crown package every Friday is a great way to preview 3-year-old stakes action, review 3-year-old stakes action. But Jeremy also with the picks on the Keeneland website. I thought we'd reach out to him, talk a little bluegrass and more. From Horseplayernow.com, Jeremy Plonk. Happy to be joined now by our friend Jeremy Plonk from Horseplayernow.com and Countdown to the Crown. Jeremy, good morning.
Good morning, Seth. Is this a busy day or something? I mean, there's only, 3 major preps and a couple great undercard races around the country. This is Christmas morning on the prep trail for sure.
Yeah, and I was talking as we were off the air. We're pre-recording on Friday because as this airs, I will be on the road with my colleague Sully Crotty to cover a great card down at Aqueduct with the Wood Memorial and a great supporting card. But of course, folks can follow you and your picks Keeneland throughout the meet. If they go to the Keeneland website, Jeremy's picks are up there, and it's a great card at Keeneland. So I thought we would reach out to you, but also Countdown to the Crown. And we like to talk to you every year and get updates on that situation. I pulled up Countdown to the Crown from Friday, April 5th, the latest division. And I just have to ask you, before we get to some specifics on Keeneland and their card and the Bluegrass and whatnot, I went down Countdown to the Crown, where you do a great job reviewing last week's races, and you've got previews of all the major preps this week, but also the top 20. And I said last week on the weekend shows, I said, you know what? Before it went defunct, I was a voter on the ESPN Derby Top 20, and I'd have to make my picks every week, and I was happy to do it, and I was able to do it, and I said, boy, this year I do not envy the people putting up the top 20, because it's just a tough year with things kind of shaking up every week. I'm looking at your top 20, Omaha Beach on top, Improbable Game Winner, Roadster, and Long Range Toddy, the top 5. And then it's interesting, as I went down, number 14, another Twist of Fate, Plouquet Parfait at number 15, Bodie Express, number 17. But as we've talked to you in years past, as we get to this point, it's as much points as it is talent.
Right, and I try to frame the top 20, at the beginning of the year, it's like, who are the best prospects? As we get into the year, like, kind of a mesh of who are the best prospects and who have the best resumes to this point, who have won the big races and who have run well and who may project well to the Derby. And then when we get to this point, it's like, who's actually going to be in the Derby, Bodie Express has enough points to get. Once you've got enough points to make it into the field, I put you into the top 20, because that's the way we need to evaluate it. I mean, who really cares if you think there's a really talented horse who's not going to make it into the Derby? So it is a mix of that, and it's actually gotten a little easier, I guess, to make the top 20 in the last couple of weeks, because the point system kind of puts them in there for you. Now, which way you shuffle and rank them, that's been difficult. I mean, I've had War of Will as high as number 1 earlier in the year, and now it's kind of down at the bottom because the health situation with that horse is so tenuous. Mark Cassey says he's back working and things look good, but look, I want to see those last 2 big works right before the Derby after, the ground kind of broke out from underneath him in the Louisiana Derby, and boy, and that's just a microcosm of what we're talking about getting ready for the Kentucky Derby. 1 second, one misstep can kind of really set you back a long time. It might seem like over amplification, but you can't miss training time. You can't be just kind of getting to the Derby in decent form. You got to be peaking on the first Saturday in May. That's the kind of horses we're looking for.
And I will ask you if you agree with me, because I have said for the last few weeks what I've alluded to. I think we're a lot like last year, where Justify eventually became the clear leader in the division, and you have to respect what he did in that amount of time and then going on to win the Triple Crown. But the season last year was very similar, where nobody could kind of go back to back and validate a performance, and it seems that way this year. And I'll ask, your level of confidence on Omaha Beach, really your top 5. Is it a strong level of confidence? Because it seems hard to really hang your hat on anybody with a real opinion this year.
Oh, no, I agree. And look, he won the toughest race. I thought that Rebel was the best, the second division of the Rebel, in which he beat Game Winner. I thought that was the deeper of the races. Gunmetal Gray was in there as well. He won the best race. He beat the champ on the nose, and he really galloped out strong. So I thought that, look, and he did it on the road, right? Some of these horses have been running like at the same circuit. Can they take their game on the road? That was good. So that put him on top. I will say this. There's one horse left who could change everything we're talking about, and that's Roadster.
Yeah.
If Roadster runs off the screen in the Santa Anita Derby, he's Justify again, right? I mean, I'm not starting as a unstarted 2-year-old, but just allow Santa Anita Derby, bam, bam, Bob Baffert. If he goes and wins by the length of the stretch and just jerks a knot into the 2-year-old champ and Instagram and a small but good field in the Santa Anita Derby, Roadster's going to the Kentucky Derby as the favorite. I think that's just fact. If he runs off and wins easily in the Santa Anita Derby, he may not do that, and I'm not predicting that he necessarily will. But he's the one horse who can kind of change the perception, I think, of this crop very quickly. I don't know if he can do it or not, but none of the other horses winning, and even winning impressively in any of the final preps, I don't think they could go to the Derby and say, hey, baby, I'm 3-1, you've got to beat me. That's the only one left. And part of that's because we don't really know, right? I mean, part of his reputation with him, he was the hot horse at Del Mar going into the summer last year. Now he's on the comeback. But look, late bloomers and horses that didn't do much at 2 have won the Derby the last couple of years, always dreaming, only had the one start and didn't do much with it. didn't break it made until the end of January. And then, of course, last year, the latest horse ever to the party, winning the Kentucky Derby with Justify. So it's a little bit different time.
Yeah, I will say, I was down at Gulfstream last week, and we ran into Bob Baffert at the 2-year-old sale in the middle of the week, and so I asked him about some of the 3-year-olds, and I brought up Game Winner and Improbable and Mucho Gusto, and then he interjected Roadster. He's doing well. He's coming into the Santa Anita Derby, so that he steered the conversation in that direction. I found very interesting.
I'll say this about Roadster. Like, I liked him as a 2-year-old, and, the hype and everything like that, and I thought he was going to be pretty good and everything. When he had his allowance comeback win, if you were watching TVG that day, I think it was Christine Oliveris Blacker got him, Brittany Ayrton grabbed him after the race. And I have never seen Bob so relieved and effusive at the same time in a post-race interview for an allowance horse. Remember, Roadster had throat surgery, so they didn't know what was going to happen with his breathing when he came back. When he ran that well in that allowance race, I think Bob said, "Oh, baby, we've got one now." And interesting. He's a very interesting horse. I pick him to win Saturday. I think Roadster will win the Santa Anita Derby. I don't know if he wins off by the length of the stretch and goes as the Kentucky Derby favorite, but that's the plausible scenario that's still left out there for a superstar.
Well, you hit on the Santa Anita Derby and Roadster, and I have in front of me the Countdown to the Crown package. People can pull that up. It's always highly recommended. Comes out on Fridays, so folks can find the full review, full preview of these stakes races. But just quickly, let's get a thought on the Wood Memorial, too, because you put Outshine on top, the Pletcher runner coming out of the second in the Tampa Derby behind Tacitus, who's also in. I think Heichel is interesting in the Wood Memorial, but as I say, you're taking a little shot. Pletcher, Velasquez, and Outshine.
Yeah, there's a little bit of need there. Tacitus has 50 points. He's safely in the field. Bill Mott's not one to just squeeze the lemon. He's more to work towards a goal. So maybe Tacitus doesn't move really far forward right off of this start and tries to peak on the first Saturday in May. Same with Kieran McLaughlin and Heichel. The Gotham was a race that set up nicely for him. We'll see if the pace scenario is a little bit different in this one without the California speed in this year's Wood like it was in the Gotham. But Heichel's got the 50 points. He's safely in the field. Kieran's a Kentuckian. He wants to get back to Kentucky. I'm sure he would love to win the Wood Memorial. I'm not saying they throw the race by any stretch. And I think some Twitterites and people like that get into conspiracy theories. But when a horse isn't fully cranked for a race, it's not a trainer not trying to win. I'm not going to put everything on the line in this race when the next race is my main goal. The horses who have to get the points and have to get back and have to get on the beam, I think, are the Pletchers in here. And that's why I kind of went that route. And since a good second at Tampa to Tacitus last time out puts the Pletcher runner, I think, in here. It's the horse to take a shot with. And you're going to get a price. Todd's won the Wood 5 of the last 9 years, so he kind of knows the way to the winner's circle there.
Yeah, and Todd, in these Derby trail races over the past 10 years or so, has been very potent. And so we're going to move on to a similar theme, the Bluegrass. Let's get some thoughts there. Grade 2 event, $1 million up for grabs, a mile and an eighth. Grade 2 event that should be a Grade 1, I would say, as it is the highlight of the Keeneland meet. But let's take a look at the Fountain of Youth. The horse I like in here is Vekoma, who winds up running third. I thought this was okay for the seasonal debut. And Vekoma is going to be the number 5 horse here, behind number 1 Code of Honor, number 4 Bourbon War. Now, you could say wasn't flattered by those two last weekend, but they were up against it pace-wise, and I thought given the pace in that Florida Derby last week, they ran well. Vekoma, again, the number 5 horse, winds up third. It's kind of an uninspiring third, except seasonal debut, first time around 2 turns. So I think Vekoma can build off of this. I'm going to put him on top. Signal Man is interesting to me. I ran into Kenny McPeak's assistant, or one of the barn workers, who said the last workout they wanted the race last week. This horse was doing so well. Signal Man's interesting to me. But you're going to take a little shot. I like it because, as I say, I think Pletcher, the Derby trail races over the past 10 years or so, he has been potent and can surprise at a price, and you're going in a Pletcher direction in the Bluegrass. Talk a little bit about your thoughts.
Well, I've got So Alive on top in here. Again, it is Pletcher, and this one by his Derby winner, Super Saver. Things have changed, though, since he won that race in 2010 with Super Saver in the Pletcher camp. Your fans and friends up there at Saratoga know very well Todd was really quiet with his 2-year-old Colts last year at the spot. I think he won 1 race with the 2-year-old Colt division. Did not aim for the big July, August, Labor Day splash. wasn't heavily involved in the Breeders' Cup Trail on the dirt side. The turf horses were his better 2-year-olds last year on the dirt. Now look how the calendar has turned. Now Pletcher's got 2 already safely in the Derby on point. He's got 2 more maybe over the weekend. All of a sudden, Todd, where we were wondering where the heck is he, might end up with 4 again if things pan out. One of the reasons I like it is because Todd, I think, had success with Always Dreaming late on the trail 2 years ago, and I think he's made a mental change with we can get there later. We don't have to be dramatically involved on the 2-year-old scene. If we want to win Triple Crowns and Triple Crown races, we do it with horses that kind of progress a little bit later. And I think it's noticeable this year. You can look at his percentages from the fall into the winter and now to the spring. They're really picking up with his 3-year-olds. So Alive is a horse that is a half-brother to Vino Rosso. And last year at this time, on this very weekend, is where Vino Rosso went from a horse who was kind of a little bit of a up-and-down runner at Tampa. The light bulb didn't quite kick on. Galloped out well, but didn't really fire his best race. And then, bam, Todd got him ready to go for the Wood, and he had his career-defining win that day. I think So Alive's following that same pattern. I'm hoping that it happens at a nice price. He's drawn towards the outside, going, 2 turns at Keeneland, so that's not the best post position for it, but I think we're going to get more than a fair price. And So Alive, to me, I think, is one of the horses I'm most excited to bet so far on this 3-year-old trail. I've been waiting for him to run back. I would have bet him in the Tampa Bay Derby had he come back, but after the Sam Davis, it took about 3 weeks for him to get back on the workout tab, and that threw him off a little bit timing-wise. So that is a little bit of a concern for me, but I tell you what, if he comes up to the race and he runs like Vino Rosso did last year in the Wood, I think he's right there in the mix and at a nice price. And you'll look back and say Saez and Pletcher and the horse pays, $22, $24. You'll be very happy with it. Your pick in here, Vekoma, Seth, I think is interesting because you would have expected this horse, based on the connections and based on the running line, to have been in the Wood Memorial because he won the Nashua, or to have gone in the Florida Derby because he ran well in the Fountain of Youth in the first start back. That he's at Keeneland is wonderful and almost makes me think somebody was reading Countdown to the Crown, because I've been saying I would love to see Vekoma at Keeneland this year because of his sire, Candy Ride. Candy Ride absolutely loved the main track at Keeneland. They've had 24 winners since the return to dirt. Only Tappas had more, and he's got 25. And today, yesterday, we saw another Candy Ride winner at Keeneland. We've got a couple wins today that have a big shot. Those horses just like the main track at Keeneland. And so Vekoma could very well take to it. And this is the geographical place you would expect him to be based on his past performances and his connections. But, boy, it sure is a good spot for him pedigree-wise.
Yeah, I like it. And I also look at your picks. You've got Signal Man underneath, so you're kind of buying into maybe the workout tab as well.
Yeah, and look, Signal Man's kind of a closer who's going to come along and get a piece. I mean, look, Kenny McPeak, more than anything in life, wants to have horses for the Kentucky Derby. I mean, he is a Kentuckian, and so he did not have this horse tight whatsoever for the last one. Is that an excuse? Is that true? That sort of thing. You can look at the workouts and see what was going on with him. The XBTV workouts have been very beneficial to watch this year. And I don't think Signal Man was anywhere near ready to go in the Fountain of Youth. I think he'll run improved. But I will say this. I make my picks like 1, 2, 3, 4 in the order of finish that I think the horses will run, not like first best contender, second best contender, third best contender. Signal Man's a horse who's going to come from behind. I think he'll run third or fourth in the race. But is he the third most likely winner in the race? I don't think so. I think Vekoma's a more likely winner than, say, Signal Man. But again, the way I try to put my picks out in a public handicapping setting is the order of finish I think they'll run in. Some like it. Hot Brown is a horse who I think is going to take them a long way on the front from the inside. I think this horse is much better than people give him credit for, and I think he's been managed masterfully. I will not be surprised if he goes wire to wire in this race, but I've got Still Alive nabbing him late.
He gets tested, though, on the surface, some like it Hot Brown. And I'll ask you, because, again, I'll remind people that they can find Jeremy's picks for Keeneland every racing day at the Keeneland website, so you follow Keeneland closely. I said this yesterday when I did the afternoon handicapping show in here, Keeneland's opening day on Thursday. Don't overlook the Turfway horses, because I think they run better than people expect, class-wise and because it's a surface switch. I think sometimes they get overlooked, but I think that particularly, again, just on an overall, maybe not in the reference to Some Like It Hot Brown, but if people are looking at this Keeneland meet overall, particularly if you get down to those claiming ranks, I think you got to look at the turfway runners as being live, and again, maybe a little bit overlooked.
Yeah, and horses on synthetic that show early speed are effective. Closers on synthetic don't like the dirt hitting them in the face, and that's where they get the big problem when they go from synthetic to dirt. If they have early speed, like we see with Some Like It Hot Brown, and some of those cheaper claimers that have some speed, those turfway horses can be very effective when they come to Keeneland. But let's not label Some Like It Hot Brown a turfway horse. This is a horse who was pointed at 2 races at Turfway because they thought that was the way to get to the Derby, and they knew they had a pedigree to run on the synthetic as well. But this horse was a major stakes player in Open Company at Saratoga, ran 3rd in a worldwide race in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Outran Aidan O'Brien horses and some of the best of Europe that came over here. Some Like It Hot Brown can run, and he was pointed at Turfway. I think that's going to help his price because I think a lot of people are going to look at that and say, oh, this was your typical Turfway horse, Mike Maker. This is like head and shoulders the classiest horse Mike Maker has run in the Spiral or the Jeff Ruby, whatever we call it now these days. A lot of those other horses he ran there were kind of the Kitten's Joys and the horses who were just pure turfers and Kentucky kind of connections and things like that. I think Some Like It Hot Brown is a classy individual. And again, if he wins wire to wire, I will not be surprised. Speed was very good too on the main track opening day at Keeneland. 6 races on the dirt. The pacemaker won 4 and ran 2nd another time. So speed starts out at least good at the meet. We'll see if it continues Saturday.
Excellent. Let's get some other stakes opinions on the card on Saturday. Really great card through and through stakes-wise. The Grade 1 Madison, $300,000 for the ladies going 7 furlongs. And Jeremy, I pulled up the Barbara Fritchie so we can take a look at the horse that is the easy rooting interest. Late Night Powwow, the number 2 horse here, gets it done. West Virginia bred. She was stepping up in this spot, facing a graded stakes company for the first time in her career. Gets it done by a head. Again, she'll be the number 2 horse. Spice Perfection, the number 1, winds up a head behind. But Late Night Powwow steps it up again on Saturday to face Grade 1 competition. I'm a buyer's guy. She'll probably have to step it up a few points. But she managed to step it up a few points in the Barbara Fritchie in kind of a similar scenario where, going against a little tougher competition, probably has to step it up a little bit. She did it, as I say. She's kind of the fun rooting interest. But Shamrock Rose, winner of the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, and the Eclipse winner in this division last year, is also in here. But what are your thoughts on the Madison?
Well, Shamrock Rose, the Breeders' Cup winner, one of 3 Breeders' Cup champions from last year, back opening week at Keeneland. We already saw Bulletin on opening day win. Shamrock Rose here. We've got the juvenile fillies winner, Jaywalk, going in the Ashland. So a great day for the Stars at Keeneland and a great weekend to come back. But it is that blue-collar horse that's interesting, Late Night Powwow that you talk about. Look, I grew up going to Charlestown, walking through the grandstand there many Friday and Saturday nights. Throughout my youth. It's cool to see a horse this good come out of Charlestown. You can look at it regionally and say, okay, she stepped up from Charlestown to the Maryland circuit, and now she goes to Kentucky, and that looks like, progression. But I'll tell you, the race in the Barbara Fritchie, she beat Spice Perfection on the nose, a Californian who was coming off a win in the Grade 1 LeBray. So did she already prove that she kind of belonged? I know that was kind of regional in her backyard. It's an hour and a half ride from Laurel to Charlestown. It's kind of a regional race for her and all. But she took on a Grade 1 winning Californian in good form and beat her on the square that day, going 7 furlongs. So maybe Late Night Powwow's already proven herself. And I hope, like you were saying, and I was saying earlier with the Bluegrass Stakes, maybe some of these regional thoughts that people will have on a big stakes day like this would help the price of these horses coming from a little more blue-collar route. Late Night Powwow, I think, has got a big shot in here. Another on that same vein, I think, is Amy's Challenge. She comes from Oaklawn. She's done really good work at Oaklawn and Canterbury, but on the big stage here at Keeneland, she floundered in the Raven Run when she was troubled out of the starting gate. She is as fast at 6 furlongs as any filly in America. And I think Amy's Challenge in a race here in the Madison, but honestly, I don't see a ton of early speed in here. I think Amy's Challenge is going to make the front. Her Oaklawn jockey, Alice Conchari, comes up the ride. That's a good thing. He's familiar with the horse, and bettors aren't going to flock to him. She would have been 2 to 5 steps. She was cross-entered in the stakes race at Oaklawn on Saturday. She'd have been 2-5 in that race at Oaklawn. They're going for the Grade 1 money. We've seen Shotgun Gulch win this Madison for C.R. Trout, a regional trainer at Oaklawn a couple years ago, coming up and didn't get the respect that filly probably deserved. So I think Amy's Challenge got a big chance to beat the Breeders' Cup winner on the front end. And Late Night Powwow, what are you going to do? 10 wins in a row? I mean, there's no reason why she can't make an 11. I think either one of those could beat Shamrock Rose. If Shamrock Rose runs her Breeders' Cup race back or a Raven Run, obviously she's the horse to beat. But that last race in the area was kind of weird. I don't understand the placement going 2 turns that day. And now she goes, back to the Grade 1. I don't get it. And for me, I'm going to take a shot against her.
Yeah, it's a fun race with, as I say, the story horse in there that'll make for some nice rooting interest. All right, wanted also some opinions on the Commonwealth Grade 3 event, $250,000, 4-year-olds and up, going 7 furlongs. And I wanted some comments because 14-horse field. Your colleague Brian Nadeau was on with me earlier on the Handicappers Report, taking a look at the Saturday action. He's going to take a shot with New York Central in here in a race that recruiting ready, coming off a nice triple-digit win in the Gulfstream Park Sprint. Limousine Liberal can always throw in a big effort. And you can point at a few others in here who somewhere on the resume have a race that is good enough to get it. Coppertown is interesting to me for Pletcher on the rebound effort last time in the Hal's Hope. Probably still has to step it up, but does have some triple digits underneath. What are your thoughts in the Commonwealth?
Well, I like one-turn milers going 7 at Keeneland. And in this kind of stakes level, they've got a little bit of a turn back, but still that one-turn brilliance. And Coppertown fits that mold, as well as a big long shot in here, who I like, Uno Mas Modelo from Gulfstream. This horse is in career form right now. Luch takes some big shots. Ron Petlucci, the trainer, we know, or the owner, I should say. We know he takes some big shots, and you look at this race and say, does he belong after 2 straight listed stakes, ran 3rd or 4th in the Grade 3, Mr. Prospector? He's probably about a Grade 3 level horse on his best, and he's in good form right now. Paco Lopez will ride, a good speed jockey. This horse isn't necessarily front-running speed, but a miler turning back to 7, you want them to be in puncher shape, going into the far turn. And so I think Paco will keep Uno Mas Modelo in the mix, and a more outside-type draw won't get stuck down on the inside from the 8-hole. I will tell you this, though. In my pick 4 ticket that I'm looking at, pick 5 ticket that starts in this race, I've got 7 deep. I mean, this is a tough race, and you could go a lot of different ways. The real consistent horse is Limousine Liberal. I mean, he's run some of the fastest 6.5, and 7 furlong races we've seen at Keeneland. For a horse whose record on the Keeneland Dirt is 1 for 7, it's one of the most misleading things you'll ever see. He's been 3rd beaten a nose in track record time 2 or 3 times. He has the track record, I believe, still for 6.5 furlongs. Limousine Liberal really loves Keeneland. He's run into some ace performances that have beat him over the years. He can be right in that mix. He hasn't run, since the Breeders' Cup Sprint, but fresh horses at Keeneland in the spring are just something we're used to. Recruiting Ready's really good right now. This is a tough race. Uncontested's back in form after winning the last 2 at Laurel. Still having fun. There's a big-time closer and a fun horse who should come with a little bit of a run. New York Central was one of the 7 that I have in there, so this is a really tough race. I wish I could narrow it down more for you. It does start to pick 5, and from a gambling standpoint, the pick 5 is infinitely more difficult than the pick 4 because of this race. Not just because it's one more leg, but if you've got to go 7 deep here, take your pick 4 and multiply it times 7 on cost. I mean, that's what you're dealing with here. So, yeah, I think the pick 4 is probably the better attack on this stakes program. But if you can get by race number 6, the pick 5 is going to pay way more than pick 4 just for those reasons.
Well, you like Uno Mas Modelo, and as I say, your colleague Nadeau like New York Central. So the 8 and the 9 at 20-1 each. I'm boxing them up. I have to now.
This is a tough one. Look, and our buddy Brian W. Spencer in the Horseplayernow Buzz Report, I'll give you one here. He's got a 5-star play on the 14 Majestic Gunhill. So,
he's in 2. 8, 9, 14. There you go.
Yeah, right. Rarely do I recommend 3-horse boxes, but when it's way wide open and you've got all prices, it's not a bad way to go.
Yeah, I say all the time, and people, see the Twitterverse gets upset, but I'll go 5 deep if there are a couple of 20-1 shots that you like. For $1, 5 deep costs $20, and if you get $300 back, it's a good deal.
Yeah, look, you got to get big payoffs in those. You know, if you box a lot of horses, you know you got a lot of guaranteed losing money, right? A $20 box has 19 losing combinations, so you can't do that over and over. But in right situations, when you attack and when you have a chance to really get a big return, there's nothing wrong with it in that case at all. And this is the kind of race where you can very well get a huge price.
Jeremy, before we let you go, just update us a little bit on Horseplayernow.com. We haven't talked to you in a while, but I know Night School is back up and running.
Yes, Season 9 of the online National Fan Education and Player Development Program started last week. Our second of 20 lessons will be coming up this coming week, and we're mixing them up between handicapping and betting lessons, 20 lessons throughout the year, so each week it will alternate between a handicapping lesson, which last week was general handicapping, kind of taking that overview of the handicapping process. And now we're going to take, this week, we'll take an overview of the betting process and the betting menu. And then each week we'll get into more specific topics as we go throughout the course of the season. Always free, always downloadable. You can go check them out anytime.
And again, we always tout Horseplayernow.com. And more importantly, at this time of year, Countdown to the Crown, a great resource as we get closer and closer to the Derby and Triple Crown season. And Jeremy certainly will check in as we do get closer to the Kentucky Derby, but we appreciate the conversation this morning.
Always a pleasure, anytime.
Jeremy Plonk, Horseplayernow.com. Thanks again to Jeremy Plonk, Horseplayernow.com, for some thoughts. And again, you can find his selections every racing day of the spring meet on the Keeneland website. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, Ellis Star, National Racing Analyst for Equibase. That'll be up next.
Here in upstate New York, no one provides bettors with more wagering options than Capital OTB. Our network of branch and easy bet locations stretches from the mid-Hudson Valley all the way to the Canadian border and west to central New York. So whether you need to place a bet, fund your Capital Bets account, or watch the next big race, all the action is just around the corner. A full list of our branch and easy bet locations can be found online at capitalotb.com. Capital OTB, the better and most convenient choice for wagering in upstate New York.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. You'll get live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform, and best of all, you get track prices. CapitalOTBBet.com. Bet any place, anytime at CapitalOTBBet.com. And be sure to download our new mobile app from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this action-packed Saturday. We'll continue with our look at Keeneland. Reached out to Ellis Star. His selection's also available on the Keeneland website during the meet and at Equibase as well. But Ellis Star taking a look at not only the Bluegrass but some of the undercard stakes. Up next, Ellis Star. Happy to be joined now by our friend Ellis Star, Equibase and beyond, and tapping into him, obviously, opening weekend at Keeneland, and you can catch his picks on the Keeneland website throughout the spring meet. Ellis, good morning.
Good morning, Seth. Good morning, racing fans, and what a fantastic week of racing. If Keeneland's not enough, I mean, Aqueduct, the card tomorrow, Santa Anita with some good races. The Derby's a little short, but interesting. Certainly we need to make notes. But, man, the cards at Keeneland for the weekend, particularly for Bluegrass Day, just phenomenal indication of where racing is right now.
Yeah, and we're going to talk Bluegrass in just a second. Let me just get a little overview on this Derby Trail season, however. I think it's totally up in the air, and I'd love your opinion. Do you have any horse or horses you have a strong feeling about at this point? Or, like me, I said I used to be on when they were still doing it, I was a voter on the Kentucky Derby poll on ESPN.com. This year I'd have a tough time coming up with a poll situation because it seems like every week there's a new face.
Well, I forgot who ran last week already.
Yeah, exactly.
Does that tell you who stood out?
Yeah.
There's some good stuff. I mean, it's interesting. One of the, just kind of not what you asked, but one of the key questions is, after Maximum Security won last week, the Bourbon War and Code of Honor, really, they were compromised, but they just ran slow on everybody's speed figure scale. Performance figure is different, but I mean, Equibase and Bliss. And so, you wonder if the Fountain of Youth wasn't like a negative key race, and it kind of throws some stuff up there. I will say, I was very pleased with myself for at least having the maiden in my top four contenders.
Oh, Pony
last
Express,
week.
Really? Good for
Yeah.
you.
You didn't see it? No, sorry. Yeah, no, he was my third pick. I thought it was a good pattern. 7 to 9 furlongs. His Equibase speed figure of 103 was about 7 points off the Fountain of Youth 1-2s. And I didn't have the winner, though, I'll admit it, because I thought you'd get into speed duel with Hidden Scroll. Little did I know Hidden Scroll was going to be taken back, and that took care of that speed duel, and we know what happened. But, no, he figured to be in the money. I don't know if I'd like him in the Derby, maybe for third or fourth. But anyway, yeah, it is wide open. I'm looking at, Omaha Beach was fairly impressive, but, we still need to see some horses tomorrow. The Game Winner could move forward, and the Santa Anita Derby. Roadsters should really move forward, in my opinion. But yeah, and that's great. I don't mind if we have 8 or 9 to 1 favorite in the Derby.
Yeah, it's going to be unless over the next couple of weeks somebody really steps up and impresses, you would think it'll be a wide open betting race. All right, let's get some thoughts on the Bluegrass on Saturday. Grade 2 event, $1 million up for grabs. The 3-year-olds going a mile and an eighth. And Ellis, while we talk, pulled up some workout video of Signal Man. He's working with Restless Rider in company with that one. The work on March 23rd, and both of the last 2 works were in company with Restless Rider. March 23rd, a nice minute 3. March 30th, 59 and change. This is actually that March 23rd workout. The March 30th workout was a little more in the dark, so harder to come up with video with. But I ran into at Gulfstream, we were down covering the Florida Derby last week, ran into somebody from Ken McPeak's barn. I said, how's Signal Man doing? He said, we wish the race was this week. He's in great form. So I'm putting Vekoma on top, but I think Signal Man is very interesting. What are your thoughts on the Bluegrass?
Well, there's a lot of ways to go, and what's a great race. And I can't remember right now. There's so many races that I did various free blogs for, so if people follow me on Twitter at UberCapper, they'll get this. I did this on one of the sites right this second, drawing a blank of where it is. I am taking a stand against Vekoma. Let me just say, first of all, going the opposite way. Because of that Fountain of Youth. He ran okay. He ran third. He ran third the entire length of the stretch. Yes, it was off a layoff. And Nashua was great, but that was one turn. His first 2-turn race was only fair, and I'm telling you, the race looks phony right now based on speed figures. So I'm going to try and beat him. Why should I go for 9 to 5? I'm doing something interesting here. I'm going with the rail horse, Some Like It Hot Brown, the horse that's only run pretty much on turf and poly. His debut was in slop at Saratoga in a race scheduled for grass. And there's a couple reasons I like him a lot. First of all, I think he's got tactical speed. And when you look at the race, Lucas is Market King, who made the lead in the Rebel First Division, the Omaha Beach Division, and then Omaha Beach took the lead away about the half mile. And then in the sprint before that, he went 45 and 8/10, 58 and 4, and on the lead. This is Lucas, and he's got a 47 and 2, almost bullet, second of 86. So he's going to go. I think the 11, Still Alive, has to show some. Not the 11, the 10, Lucky Lee, has to show some speed, even though his Withers was horrible. But he's an early horse, and that post is going to commit him. Aquadini on the outside's got to go for Dallas Stewart because of position and tactical speed. Maybe Parsimony a little bit. There's some others that could be up close, and Some Like It Hot Brown rated off the pace when he won the John Battaglia in his first start of the year in February off the layoff. And don't forget, this horse was, again, typical what we're seeing a lot these years, right? Turf horses. He won his maiden by 8 at 9 furlongs at Saratoga. Yes, it was New York breds. Second in the With Anticipation. He had the lead and ran second in the Pilgrim. Third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, beaten less than that. He's beaten a half and a neck. Comes back and he's 2 for 2. And, okay, can he transfer his form? Well, luckily Stats Race Funds lets me look at some stuff because I don't keep track. I look at Big Brown on dirt. He hasn't had a lot of dirt horses, even though, of course, he was a dirt horse, won the Derby. But he has a little horse named Dortmund. And Dortmund won the Santa Anita Derby, was it 2 years ago, right, 2017. I think he can get 9 furlongs. He fits on figures. He's improving. Tyler Gaffalione won the fall riding me to Keeneland, which is a surprise to me because he hadn't ridden the Keeneland ever before. And he's a nice price. So he's my top pick. And I'm going to use 3 horses coming out of the Tampa Bay Derby, Win, who ran third. Sir Winston, who went from 15 lengths to 4 lengths back. It was just a really weird move. And I'm using Admire for Dale. Dale said at the draw the other day, Dale Romans, said, just reminding everybody, he won this race with Brody's Cause, who ran last in the Tampa Bay Derby. And Admire broke his maiden at 9 furlongs at Churchill last fall, so he's not a problem. So And Singleman, and I'm going to use Singleman. Based on what you said. But my key is going to be something like a Hunt Brown. I think he could run a breakout race here. And also, it's weird about this race, 6 out of the 14 finished 5th or worse in their last starts, and I'm using 2 of them, but still, there's not a lot of horses that have first or second place finishes coming in.
Yeah, I think it's a very fun race. We just talked to Jeremy Plonk from Horseplayernow.com. He also had some like it Hot Brown in his mix for a lot of the same reasons you said. The question mark to me is the surface, but certainly what we saw at Turfway says this horse has the talent and can get the trip, so going to be interesting in the Bluegrass. Let's take a look. One race earlier, the Ashland Grade 1 event for the 3-year-old fillies going 1 1/16 for $500,000. And while we talk, going to pull up the February 2nd Forward Gal from Gulfstream Park. Number 4 is going to be Feedback. This is the horse that's interesting to me for Chad Brown and Klarovich, 2 for 2. Maiden breaker at Saratoga in August, and then lays off from August until this February start. So it's the seasonal debut, only the second start, off a long layoff, and a nice stakes win in start number 2 for Feedback. But Jaywalk is in here, Chocolate Kisses, Restless Rider. I think it's a stacked field. What are your thoughts on the Ashland?
Well, Jaywalk didn't show up last time, and I can't make a case for showing up here. No matter what service says, great 2-year-old campaign. I don't know about 3-year-olds, and I got to see better. So 8-5 again, taking a stand, just like Vacoma. Feedback's my top pick, no question about it. Projects to have a lone lead here, even over Jaywalk, based on those fractions. Ortiz can do what he wants. Of course, by violence, I don't see a problem with the trip. That was a key race, by the way, the Forward Gal, and I mean key race. I went and looked again. We got this great Stats Racelands feature that shows the chart that circles winners, but it also, every horse you hover over, you don't have to look at their lifetime PPs. It shows how they ran. Bye J1 next time out. Champagne Anyone ran 3rd and then won the Gulfstream Park Oaks. The 4th horse, I can't remember, won the Devona Dale, and the 5th one. So this is a key race. Every horse, the 4 horses behind Feedback, all came back and ran big, and 2 of them won stakes. Definitely a player. Chocolate Kisses should rally fast, getting great pace again. I don't see a problem transferring to dirt. The Rags to Riches, where she hopped and lost the rider, where she was 5-1. That would have shown how good she is on dirt. She ran 4th from 14th back in the Alcibiades, so I think she's fine on dirt. And then I'm going to use a long shot here, the 3 Lady Kate for Eddie Keneally. I like the pattern here, sprint route. Came from off the pace to win first time out in the Suncoast. Kind of ran spots, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 3 clear of the 3rd horse. A nice improvement in Equibase figure. Bernardini have a street cry, no question. Could get better. Big workout at Keeneland since raced. And that the 87 Equibase speed figure that Lady Kate, I like to compare whether horses can make a jump looking at a speed figure of one of the contenders. So, for example, Chocolate Kisses earned an 85 figure at the fairgrounds in her 3-year-old debut when she won and then jumped up to win the Honeybee with 96. Well, Lady Kate ran an 87 last time out, and she could jump up, so she's a nice price. So I'm just going to box the 3 up and try and beat Jaywalk here. And again, this is one of the races I did. This is actually the one I did for the Keeneland website, which you mentioned. Go to Keeneland Expert Picks, and you'll get my detailed analysis for this race.
And Lady Kate, as you were talking, I didn't have that one. I'm with you. I'm taking a shot against Jaywalk. I like Feedback. But that Bullet Workout may signal something. Only the 3rd career start. Last time they stepped from Maiden Special into Stakes Company, so obviously they had some confidence. But the Bullet Workout at Keeneland, Lady Kate, if that one does wind up to be a price, could be interesting in there.
Yeah, put in your exotics for sure.
8th race at Keeneland is the Madison. The ladies going 7 furlongs in a Grade 1 event. I've talked about this horse. We talked on the handicapping show a little bit earlier. And as I say with Jeremy Plonk, Late Night Powwow is the story in here, the West Virginia wind machine, West Virginia bred wind machine. But we do have the Eclipse winner, Shamrock Rose, also. Your thoughts on the Madison?
Oh, it's a fantastic race. I'll just say my contenders in slight order are Late Night Powwow, Shamrock Rose, Create a Star. I'll get back to that long shot, and Spice Perfection. Late Night Powwow, 5 for 5 at 7 furlongs. What can you say? The figures are there. 107 Equibase from the Fritchie, so she moved out of Charlestown, went to Laurel, and won those 3. I mean, she just loves to win. It's funny because she's a West Virginia bred and Create a Star, who I'll talk about second, an Oklahoma bred. But, you don't think of either of those states having horses that can really do well in Grade 1 stakes, but we'll see. But Late Night Powwow, I bet her as low as 9-5. I think she's really good. Shamrock Rose, is interesting because they tried 2 turns. She won 2 turns on the synthetic at Woodbine and Presque Isle. And she wasn't disgraced at all. I mean, she led at the 7.5 furlong mark against Midnight Bassoon in the late. And then she, gets beat a little bit by those 2 horses. So, and they'd be, 1-9 here if they were sprinters. So I think she's great. She won the Breeders' Cup. The Breeders' Cup proved the Raven Run wasn't a fluke, and she's on a good pattern now, second off the layoff, and I like the cutback. 7 furlong horses, Jim Quinn always said, middle distance horses cutting back to 7 furlongs are a better bet than horses that have been sprinting. So, but she's going to be, pretty low odds. The 5, Slice Perfection, only got beat ahead of Late Night Powwow. If I bet one, I got to bet the other. And then Create a Star is interesting. So I don't know if you recall, Seth, a horse named Shotgun Gulch.
Oh, sure, yeah.
She won the 2011 Madison 13-1. Now this guy, this owner trainer, mostly owner trainer breeder, C.R. Trout, mostly Remington Park. He's a sharp guy, and he's sharp. And if he's going to ship this horse to Kentucky, I got to take a look. 20-1, going to be every bit of 20-1 or more. He shipped this horse, Shotgun Gulch, in 2011 off a race at Oaklawn. It wasn't a win. He's shipping Create a Star off a 4th place finish at Oaklawn. She's done okay. She's won 3 races. I don't think she won any stakes yet, maybe Oklahoma breds. But he worked her at Oaklawn 47-2, gets Johnny Court to ride. And his record is just pretty amazing for a guy that trains on that circuit and trains against Asmussen every day. He's 13 for 36 the last 5 years in dirt sprint stakes, and in the last 2 years, he's got 5 wins in 4 seconds in dirt sprint stakes in 16 races. So he knows his horses, and I'm not going to leave this horse out of the exotic. So I'm making it 6-9-2-5, and I'm going to box him up in the exact and try and hope to get Create a Star in there. And Late Night Powwow, certainly, if that 7-2 1 line holds up, it's a win bet.
And there's a look at some of the stakes action at, we had one more. I wanted to go to the Shakerstown too, so let's take a look at that before we let you go. Shakerstown in race number 7, $200,000, grade 2 event, 5.5 furlongs. And I wanted to add this one, and you mentioned it as one to potentially look at. But boy, turf sprinters, it's a specialty, and we have stakes quality turf sprinters here that have gotten it done and proven that they fit the specialty. Disco Partner in here. Conquest Tsunami, I'm a buyer's guy, and there's some triple digits underneath there. Bound for Nowhere won this race last year, and Imprimis certainly coming off the nice stakes win at 5 furlongs on the turf last time at Gulfstream with a big number. I think it's a nice field. What are your thoughts on the Shakertown?
Well, the field combined has had almost $6 million in earnings. That tells you something.
Yeah.
That's how good these guys are. I'm going to key on 2 horses. I'm going to key on the 11, Infamy, and the 9, Down for Nowhere. But you can go lots of places here. I don't see Schmuck, Music, Conquest Tsunami, and Latent Revenge. There's going to be a barn-burning pace going on here. I expect 21 flat probably. They could also throw in Tsunami, but he doesn't really run well on the flat. He runs better downhill. But still, Infamy ran the best race of his life. He's lightly raced. He's 6 for 8. Great race at Gulfstream, and the Silks run off that layoff for 6 months. With Paco Lopez, and Lopez rides him back. 114 career best Equibase figure. I think he'll move forward. Great value. Bound for Nowhere won the race last year. I've been off for a while. Last year he had a prep at Turfway. This year he's coming back fresh, but I'm not too worried about it. The works are great. Wesley Ward knows when he's ready. He's last year's winner, and he's 4-1 this time. So I'm going to key 9-11 on top. I'm going to use 3 Disco Partner, certainly. The 6, Will Call, another nice closer who was second in the fall version of this race, the Woodford, and he can come from way back with Javier. And the 1, Jazzy Times, the Price, who just won last time in August. He won the Kentucky Downs Preview Turf Sprint. Hasn't been seen since, but here's a horse with 2 for 2 on turf, and both those turf races were awesome, and he's going to be completely overlooked here. But the keys are going to be Bound for Nowhere and In For Me.
Yeah, I think it's a fun race, and again, it kicks off the all stakes pick 4 with a $400,000 guarantee. We gave you thoughts on all of those races, 7, 8, 9, and 10. 10 being the highlight, the Bluegrass. Looks like a great card tomorrow at Keeneland. And again, I'll remind people, Ellis, that they can find your selections Keeneland's website throughout the meet, and we wish you a lot of luck, and we will check in again.
Yep, thanks a lot. And I'm actually doing full card selections. There's probably a link somewhere on the Equibase website as well, just for the Keeneland meet, because these races are just so exciting and so much profit to be made. So
very good. So check out Equibase for that as well. Ellis, as I say, we'll talk again.
Thanks again, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Ellis Star, Equibase, and the Keeneland website for his selections throughout this Keeneland spring meet. All right, we have given you some thoughts on the Keeneland Stakes action. We'll take a break. When we come back, we will shift our attention to the West Coast, Santa Anita, on Santa Anita Derby Day. After this break, Frank Miramahdi, stay tuned.
50 yards, heavily priced. Here's the line. One Dreamer wins and scores a huge front-running upset under Gary Stevens. Heavily prized was second. You have just witnessed a felony.
Visit Rivers Casino and Resort, the Capital Region's only destination for live table game action and the hottest new slots paying out millions. And they're off. Horse betting is now at Rivers Casino and Resort with Capital off-track betting terminals and live tellers located just off the gaming floor at Van Slicks. Get in on all the action at Rivers Casino and Resort.
Runs at him with 1 furlong to run. They've let flat out behind. Fort Larned digs in. Mucho Macho Man runs at him. Fort Larned, Mucho Macho Man. Fort Larned with the heart of a champion.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
Welcome back. We haven't had a chance to catch up with our friend Frank Miramahdi since he has shifted to the West Coast. I know for him it was a dream job, so we reached out to Frank to talk a little bit about heading out there to Southern California and also get some of his thoughts on not only the Santa Anita Derby, but the Big Cap as well. Up next is track announcer Santa Anita, Frank Miramahdi. Happy to be joined now by a friend Frank Miramahdi from Santa Anita. Frank, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very good. And we haven't had a chance to check in since you've headed out west. We miss you here in New York as we watch the pregame show at Aqueduct. We missed the fisticuffs with Mr. Serling, but I know that Santa Anita was a dream job for you. So talk a little bit about going out to Southern California, how it's been, and you are doing a great job for those of us back here on the East Coast watching out at Santa Anita. So again, congratulations, and how are things working out?
It's been a great opportunity for me. Obviously, I've been going to Santa Anita since I was a little kid. I remember watching Vigors run there, Spectacular Bid, Affirmed, so many great superstars, John Henry in my teens, and the list goes on and on. So, the opportunity to have a job, filling in for my idol, Trevor Denman, is the greatest thing you could ask for in a career. And it's something I'm very, very grateful for on a daily basis. And needless to say, we've had some well-documented concerns this meet, and we're just fighting through and doing everything we possibly can, keeping everything positive and doing the best we can to keep everyone safe and sound and enjoy the greatest racing in the world.
Yeah, and again, just on that overarching topic of Santa Anita, we wish you guys all the best. Obviously, it's not just affecting Santa Anita, but the racing industry in general, so we're wishing for the best out there. And I know my partner, my summertime partner, Steve Bick, is out there doing the radio show. And I'll tell people to maybe swing by Equideli because I linked to it earlier this week. And Frank, I don't know whether you had a chance to listen, but earlier this week, Steve, who was again out there at Santa Anita, talked with Nick Luck, and they cut out a nice little segment that Nick had on the Santa Anita situation and kind of a common sense approach to it. And I've linked to that audio on Equideli. You can pull it up, but that was a great approach. And I think also that the I Am Horse Racing initiative that people have started on social media, I think the racing industry maybe is a little slow to push back, but I think folks are moving in the right direction. So again, wish you and everybody out there the best of luck, particularly over this really highlight weekend.
No question. I appreciate all that. We know your thoughts are positive, and we've got some great racing, and that's what we're focused on and very excited about. I think everyone's coming together, and it looks like a great day today.
And so we'll hit on some of that racing in a moment. But before we do that, just again, your career a little bit, the move out to Santa Anita. And again, we miss you in New York during the winter time. But game plan is going to be summertime. You'll be back in Monmouth?
Yes, I will. When Santa Anita concludes, I'm going to come out and call Monmouth starting at the end of June. And that means a lot of trips, especially with Monmouth not going back to the Thursdays. A lot of trips up to Saratoga, which is what I'm really looking forward to. There's nothing quite like that atmosphere. And I will make my presence felt and have some fun out there. I look forward to that a lot.
Yeah, that's just what I was about to ask. So that's great. So we'll get you to sit in with us on the backstretch again at some point this summer. Look forward to it. All right, let's get some thoughts on the big day. Obviously, Santa Anita Derby and great undercard of stakes as well. Let's get some opinions on that Santa Anita Derby Grade 1 event. $1 million up for grabs, a mile and an eighth. And Frank, while we talk, going to pull up the March 1st optional claimer. The number 4 horse will be Roadster, getting the victory under Mike Smith. Career start number 3. I talked to Bob Baffert at Gulfstream last week. He was in town for the sale. I mentioned, hey, give us a little update on Game Winner and Probable Mucho Gusto. He said, well, don't forget Roadster. So that he pulled this one into the conversation stood out to me. Roadster's in here. Game Winner's in here. Instagram is in here. What are your thoughts on the Santa Anita Derby?
I'm definitely against Instagram. I was against him last time in the Gotham, and I'm certainly against him here. And that's a dangerous stance to take when you have a talented horse like that who obviously needed that last race. But I just, I'm not buying into that whatsoever at this point in time. I'm with you in that I was very high on Desmond for Baffert, and obviously he lost that allowance race after breaking poorly, and they decided not to go to the wood with him. But I remember I kept asking Bob about Desmond, and one day he said to me, Desmond, like as though like you know what Roadster would do to Desmond, and he brought up Roadster, and so the fact that he's bringing up Roadster is a warning sign, and I just think that look, when they met last time, I was a big Nolo Contesto man, and I don't think Nolo Contesto got the best situation last time. I thought Mike Smith put on a perfect Hall of Fame ride to keep him down on the inside, and that Nolo Contesto also was a little bit wet. Now, granted, sometimes it's hot, and these are horses going into combat, and so I think that the whole washy thing is an overstated topic. But based on appearance, when he came out and broke his maiden in that great race early in the year when he defeated Omaha Beach in that thriller, he looked different, at least from a standpoint of walking to the gate, in my eye. I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not a equine horse whisperer, but just from watching so many races, there are certain things that you see when they go to the gate. And Nolo Contesto, when he walked up to the gate, and I absolutely loved him in that race last time, he just was a little wet, and he wasn't, like, perfect. It would be my description there. And so I'm going to excuse him for that effort, but I just think Roadster might be a horse that is very dangerous, particularly with Bob talking about him without being prompted, because I guess both of us have had conversations with Bob that did not involve Roadster, that Roadster came up in. And so therefore, those are things you have to just kind of read between the lines. Now, Game Winner's a monster. I thought he ran a giant race last time out, and he's done nothing wrong in his career. But I just think Roadster might be dangerous in here, and Nolo Contesto is kind of a dark horse as well. That so if I had to make a pick, I would say Roadster would be my selection for the Santa Anita Derby, and we'll see. He might just be good enough. I had a future book on Quality Road at 75-1 for the Kentucky Derby, and unfortunately he had some foot issues. He would have been the favorite, as you know, and maybe he gets a little redemption this year. Quality Road was such a freak. And what a beautiful horse he was. It's nice to see that he has such nice progeny out there as well.
Well, you mentioned about Future Book in past years. I'm curious because I've been saying for the past few weeks, this Derby season, the Derby Trail, it seems like a new face every week. So it's hard to go in any direction with much confidence. If Roadster or Game Winner or Improbable next week shows up and runs big, I think with Baffert's reputation, these horses maybe float to the head of the class. But at this point, where are you on the Derby Trail? Do you have anybody that you're looking at with much confidence?
Not really. I mean, look, if you wanted to bet game winner, you're going to get what? You were getting 5-6 to 1, 9 to 2. No one's on that. I guess that's kind of like the house horse, kind of like the green on the roulette wheel is game winner. So they've made it an uncomfortable situation. I think that last year in Nevada, at least, they took a little beating on that deal, and the prices were not as lucrative this year. I thought in recent times, Roadster was not a bad price if you want, but again, those future bets, they're fun to hit. But when you take more than one horse, it automatically lowers the odds on the other ones that you took, and therefore the quote unquote value isn't there. It's just fun to have that ticket when you have the winner. But when you look at the logic behind, taking a bunch of horses, like I have 50 to 1 on him. Well, if you have 5 other horses, you really have about 10 to 1 on him. So, but it's fun to hit. Don't get me wrong, and so that's just a great deal as far as it's bragging rights when you have the Derby winner. I think that right now Baffert certainly holds a very strong hand, and Roadster might certainly deserve the opportunity to be mentioned with those others. But game winner is the horse to beat. Clearly, he's the rallies that he has put on. His rally in the Breeders' Cup that day was tremendous. I just thought it was really showed how special a horse he was. And then he came back and he just missed. Omaha Beach was given a beautiful ride and got a perfect bob in that photo, and he held him off. But this is the kind of progress that you like to see. He is the legitimate favorite, so I think we're always looking for something different. And this is an opportunity for a Nolo Contesto type horse if he can run first or second, get some points to put him in a position. And he's a very nice colt. I mean, he was touted very, very hard after his debut, and he answered the bell in that little match race, and certainly flattered by Omaha Beach's performance. So I wouldn't hold that last race so much against him, because tactically he was at a tremendous disadvantage. That said, Roadster did school him through the stretch, and he was no match. But as we know, these horses, that's just the tables get turned quite frequently. It's going to be a very interesting race. I don't know what Instagram is going to do to try to put some pressure on Roadster. I guess that's the question mark. What will happen on the front end in this race? You've got the 2 speed horses, and then you got those 2 closers, and we'll see what develops. But certainly Mike Smith has done everything right with Roadster so far, and his issues are obviously behind him. I think he's going to get bet pretty hard, too. I think he's going to be about 9-5 when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and again, a Derby Trail season that's been a little bit up in the air. We'll see if the cream can rise to the top this weekend and or next weekend. Older horses in the Big Cap, which again, with the delays, the postponement of racing has been moved to Santa Anita Derby Day, and the Big Cap will be race number 10 on Saturday. I pulled up the San Pasquale from February 2nd. Battle of Midway will be the winner, the number 8 horse. McKinsey, the number 7, runs second by half a length as a favorite. I'm just looking at this race. It looks like McKinsey might have it over a barrel. That said, Gift Box on a top performance can be right in here as well. And in fact, maybe showed some improvement on the move to the West Coast in the barn of John Sadler last time with the win in the San Antonio. What are your thoughts on the Big Cap?
I mean, the only issue I think with McKinsey, and it's been a question that has been asked on numerous occasions, is the distance of 1.25 miles. That's it. He's a beautiful colt, and he's very, very talented. I was stunned that he lost last time out, but he lost to a fierce competitor. The Gift Box is a horse that I have always been a fan of, and he was a horse that on the East Coast, for whatever reason, just lacked that knockout punch on several occasions. You just couldn't trust him in the final 16th of a mile, and he took some losses that were just head scratchers. I guess the question with Gift Box is the following. His race in the San Antonio was giant. He got a beautiful setup that day and did capitalize on it, and now he's been freshened up for this race. The question is, can he step his game up one more time? I think it's clearly a match race between these two, and I think that the issue in the end comes down to 1.25 miles. And look, let's face it, Gift Box faces that exact same question going 1.25 miles. So these are 2 very, very talented individuals. And I have a sentimental attachment to McKinsey. I worked for Brad McKinsey, and I'm always rooting for him. It'd be hard to pick against him in any circumstance at any time just because of that. And I know that's not exactly what handicapping expertise is all about, but they came with the goods with this horse as well. The issue is 1.25 miles. Would I want to plunge on this horse at a low price? not at a mile and a quarter. I really wouldn't want to take that low price. But I would not be stunned if Giftbox beat him. When you look at the pedigree, you've got Twirling Candy and Unbridled Song. So I think there is a legitimate concern at the mile and a quarter with both of these horses. But I can't see there's nothing that I look at here that tells me that there's going to be an upset. It's got to be those two to the wire.
Yeah, it's a fun race on those question marks, but again, they look like they kind of have the field over a barrel a little bit. It'll be a fun edition of the Santa Anita Handicap on a really nice card. Again, nice stakes on the undercard as well. Frank, as always, appreciate the visit and the thoughts. Again, good luck to you and everybody, Santa Anita, on a big card on Saturday, and we'll talk again.
We caught you photobombing there at Gulfstream, by the way, last week, and so we knew you were present, and we appreciate that, and we can't wait to see you on the East Coast.
Yeah, we're looking forward, as I say, to a summer visit up the backstretch at Saratoga. But again, good luck tomorrow.
Thanks a million.
Frank Miramahdi, Santa Anita, and Monmouth as well a little bit later, and we'll catch up with him when he makes a trip up to Saratoga this summer. Thanks again to Frank Miramahdi, Ellis Star, and Jeremy Plonk for jumping on board this edition of Racing Across America. Again, we taped on Friday because, as I say, well, as you're watching now, we're probably just about pulling in the parking lot at Aqueduct. Sully Crotty and I will be live from Aqueduct on Saturday afternoon, Wood Memorial Day. Live cut-ins here on the network all afternoon long, concentrating on not only the Wood Memorial, but a great undercard of stakes action as well. So stay tuned to the network all afternoon for those live cut-ins here on this Saturday, Wood Memorial Day down in New York. Saturday locally, a $100 knockout challenge here at the Clubhouse Racebook. We'd love to see you swing down and enjoy the racing action and take a little plunge with the $100 knockout challenge. That all happens here on Saturday. Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Also the spot where Sunday we'll have a double promotion. Naira Pick 4 and a match bet. That happens Sunday here at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Also want to remind you to click on the Tourney Bets link on the website. Check it out. Play a contest. If you haven't given it a try yet, find a price point that suits you. Again, they go from, there are actually some free contests on there occasionally, so you can try that and have a little fun. I think you'll enjoy it. So again, Tourney Bets link on the capitalotb.com website. All right, I'm going to wrap things up for this edition of Racing Across America. Again, stay tuned to the network, not just for a great afternoon of racing at the various venues, but the live cut-ins from Aqueduct all afternoon long. Back here tomorrow morning for more Racing Across America at 10 a.m. We'll see you then.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.